Well, the goal here is to answer your questions, but I can give a brief rundown. Things are going pretty well. I really love what I'm doing. I've been working my whole life on this. Hey, Alvin. Thank you. Nice to see you guys. Uh, we just set up a new entrepreneur page and a new affiliate program page. And basically, Vegan Launch itself is a startup. And we'll call it the Mark Winstein startup method. And it's where you really spend as little as possible, improve as much as possible. And step by step, we've been proving it, and it's working. And so now we're gearing up for really a massive push. And I could talk all day. It's kind of funny not having any sound coming back, but so please interrupt and ask questions. Where would you like to start? Or what would you like me to talk about? You can pick a subject. I'm a professional know-it-all, so it doesn't even have to be on topic. I'll give you an answer. Maybe there's a delay. All right, so here's some things I'll talk about. So what are the cool things that are happening? Well, our goal is to get to 300 general investor members. And why I care about this so much is that if you look at, say, the organic food industry boom, or even the environmental industry. Oh, okay, Stacy, we've got a question. How have the responses been from vegans looking to start their own business? Very good. I purposefully, I've been in the entrepreneur game since 1983, and I know, see, when entrepreneurs think there's any money, especially for people that really care, if you're just doing a business to make more money, there's lots of sources. But when you're looking for somebody who gets veganism, it's like, we're like waving the flag here at Vegan Launch. So I kept that part really low key because I didn't want to be flooded with too many entrepreneur requests until I could demonstrate that I was 100% sure that we'll get the investors lined up. And I can tell you today, I'm 100% sure. We can start funding deals today, depending on what quality they are. When I say quality, it doesn't mean how big they are or anything. It just means whether the entrepreneur is really prepared to receive money. So that's why we made that new page. I'll just post it right here. You can take a look at it, actually, if you want. Veganlaunch.com entrepreneurs. So I don't know if that's going to work or not. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So if you click on that, you'll see what the new look and feel of the site is going to look like. And then I also put up another new page, and which is I'm calling it the influencer page, which to most people that's called an affiliate program. But I take influencers very seriously because that's been a big part of my life, is trying to convince people to change things. So what's different about, say, the vegan economy? The whole point is to get other people to convert, right? We figured it out. We know it's great. We know it's the solution to all the world's problems. It really is. When I finally woke up to that, I realized I'd been missing that one thing, because I've been an environmental entrepreneur my whole life, and somehow I missed that one point. Let's see, Stacy says, would love to learn more about that. Which that? Could you explain what you want me to talk about? Anyway, I guess there is this lag with the questions on Facebook. So I'm going to talk about my very first mentor, because my first business was an environmentally oriented business. The goal was, I wanted to prove that you could run a business where every transaction solved an environmental problem. And in 1983, in the United States, the average shower head. What you do to, you want to take a shower? That's called a shower head. And it used 10 gallons per minute, which is a lot. And that it takes a lot of energy to heat that up. And meanwhile, I was reading articles about water tables falling and desertification, and here we're blasting 10 gallons a minute through our shower. But people would come out with these new showers. They were only 2 gallons per minute. And I started selling them, and I started selling them by the thousands, literally to schools and stuff. And, oh, hey, Natasha. Hi there. So I was looking for business mentors because no business mentor ever heard of taking care of the environment. And my dad said, well, I've got a friend. He's successful in business. Maybe he can mentor you. And the guy's name was Irv. And Irv's probably dead, just like my own dad. He died a decade ago now. But anyway, so I talked to Irv. Oh, the influencer program. All right, I'll get to that in a minute. So I had my meeting with Irv, and I said, so Irv, tell me, how do you succeed in business? And he said, well, Mark, I sell candy and cigarettes, and people like candy and cigarettes. They buy a lot of it, and I make a lot of money because I sell what they buy a lot of. And back then I'm going, okay, well, that didn't quite fit my whole eco philosophy. And I just thought, this is ridiculous. And he really didn't know how to relate to this complex sale. And my friend Peter, he said, Mark, how can you sell shower heads? People already have shower heads. What do they need another shower head for? You know what I'm saying? And this is the exact problem. Like, let's just say we want people to eat vegan food. Everyone who's eating is already eating. So we're just trying to get them to change the quality of what they're doing. We're not saying we're not revolutionizing the world in a perceivable way. We're just saying we're going to apply this value structure to the food you're putting in your mouth. And of course, the organic food movement was like that. The idea was, well, if we put an organic label on a bag of apples, we can charge twice as much. But that wasn't, of course, underneath that label is some very meaningful meaning. And adhering to that meaning is what gave value. And that's what we're really talking about. We're trying to change the values of 98% of the world economy is value-based. It's not much of it really goes to just raw shelter, except obviously the billion people who are starving and all that. But I'm saying for the Western cultures and the Westernized cultures, it's all values. In our values, we need to change that value set so we don't destroy the planet and destroy our health and, of course, take care of the animals. And so that value is so important. And the stronger, one thing I learned from all this time in this field is the stronger we adhere to the values, the more profit opportunities there are. As soon as you start fuzzing it and compromising, the profit goes down the drain. So I'll talk about more of that later. So let's talk about the influencer program. Stacy wants to know about that. So if you're on Facebook and you like to share, or LinkedIn or any other kind of social media, this is going to be a great program for you. So basically you sign up, there's no cost for it. And the whole idea is it's an affiliate marketing program. So by sending people to our site, if they become members, you get paid. And one of our first affiliates has already made $200. Just he has one blog post that's sending a fair amount of traffic. And in fact, I'll put a link to that blog post. Let me grab it just so you can take a look. But the evolution now, what's going on is that when you become an affiliate here, you're also going to be in our affiliates mailing list. And every time we post new content, you're going to get a link that's pre-formatted with your affiliate code attached to the end of it. So like, here's an example. I'll just post an example. I wonder if I should share my screen. I'm not going to get too fancy. Anyway, the affiliate link has some extra stuff at the end. And I'll just type in an example. veganlaunch.com ref equals 1. Not even equal. So if you look in the live stream, or if you look in the chat, this is an example of an affiliate link the little ref one tells our website, in this case, it says that I'm the one that sent that. And so what will happen is when we post a new blog post, in your email, you get a link. And in that link, you can just pick that link and pick it up and share it. And you'll see how nicely formatted the pages I just posted, the influencers and the entrepreneur page, they're nicely formatted just for Facebook and LinkedIn to really show, they show really well when you post them. And so what you do is you click that link to the page, click the share buttons, and instantly you're sharing, but you're sharing with the affiliate link. So as you're sharing our content saying, hey, this is cool, if people click on that, you're driving traffic through your affiliate link. And that's how it works. And so right now, the general investor membership is $500 a year. And we're giving 20% of that to the affiliates. So that's $100 for $100 a year for everyone that signs up. Now, we're all influencers, really, when you get right down to it. All of us that care about veganism, unless we're very quiet about it, we're all sharing. And this brings this whole new dynamic, because right now, so there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to write about. There's a whole, I think we've all seen, and it's going to grow too, but I think we've all seen plenty of what I eat in a day and, 10 reasons or 100 reasons why you should go vegan and all that kind of, thank God, thank God people are doing that. But I wouldn't be vegan if it weren't for all the people that are sharing all that stuff. But so what Vegan Launch is doing is it's bringing activism to a whole new dimension, because what all the activists say is vote with your consumer dollars. And I'm saying yes, but also vote with your investment dollars, because the economy, the way it's going to look in 5 years and 10 years from now, it's going to look like who gets seed capital today, who gets early stage capital today. Whoever gets capital today, those are going to be the companies that are creating the culture over the next 5 years, next 10 years, and so on. And that's why this is so critical, because I hear a lot of videos and they're well-meaning. They're certainly, I love these guys. Maybe you know some of these vegan YouTubers like Earthling Ed, or my favorite these days is a guy named Wacko Jacko. I actually am on a 1-month YouTube sabbatical, at least not posting, but watching. I had to take a break because I love these guys so much. So what are they saying? They're saying, well, McDonald's has some vegan burgers and there's the vegan pizza place. Now in London, you can get vegan pizza at Pizza Hut, all the chains. They're serious about it. And then a lot of vegans say, well, should we buy from these places because they're doing a lot of, bad stuff? Yeah, they got some vegan pizza, but what about the other 99%? And the general consensus with vegans is, well, the more we buy and show them that we have a market, the more they'll serve us. And that is true. But there's a little more that can be done. So I've calculated, I do research on this kind of stuff, and vegans and vegetarians have a lot of money in the stock market, like $8 trillion. That's a lot of money. The whole, like Apple's the biggest company, it reached $1 trillion valuation. But so you could buy Apple for $1 trillion. So you don't need, but the thing is, you don't even need $1 trillion. And this has been going on for many decades, since I was a kid, that people have assembled funds and taken controlling interest in companies for relatively small amounts of money. It might be $1 billion here or 100 million there, but $1 billion is a drop in the bucket out of 8 million. It's 1 million people times 1,000. And, the average socially responsible investment fund has 2 million people with an average investment of $1,000 or more. So we could buy McDonald's, is what I'm saying. If we really wanted them to change faster, we could buy them or buy controlling interest. We don't have to just beg them to change. And this is something, I'm a hardcore activist, but the thing is, this is friendly. This is not an attack based strategy. It's in order to buy them, we have to pay a certain value. And so I'm saying that all these companies that we want them to change faster, if we want to change faster, we need to vote with our investment dollars. And so this message, what I'm telling you here in this live stream, is going to be quite a lot of content that you can share with people in your network. So you'll have an endless supply of these things, because there's the whole, how do we do this? We need to learn entrepreneurship, and we need to learn finance. And I took the time to learn finance as a way to forward my activist goals. Most people go into finance because they want to make a shitload of money. And then maybe later they go vegan and they realize, God, I need to somehow use my skill. And that's good too, but there's a kind of art to like always putting money as the second value, below the value that should not be compromised. I mean, clean water, clean air, animal habitat, animal rights, these things should never be compromised for any amount of money. Of course, very few people, they might wish that were the case. I've lived it. I've lived that for getting close to 40 years, guys, 36 years. I've lived that. So to me, all this financial stuff is a tool to bring this kind of level, to uplift our culture. Because dirty water, I was an environmental entrepreneur until I went vegan. And then I realized that was the missing link. Before I launch into another thing, Stacy, do you have any more questions? I explained the influencer program. I just say sign up. It's almost completely self-explanatory. Any questions? Any more questions? Are people still, everyone, I don't know if it tells me if people leave. Let's see. How many people are in the session? Hello, Salome. Thank you for joining. So let's see if there's more questions people have. And if not, I'll go and I'll pick another topic, but I'd rather have you pick the topic for me. I'm waiting. Everyone's so shy. So let's talk a little bit about the entrepreneurs that want to start their business. So we'll just talk about some of their challenges. So we've had some interesting projects come through. And so for an entrepreneur to raise money, they have to be ready to receive money. And this goes, there's a number of different aspects of being able to receive money. And raising money is not quite the same as selling a product or a service, because selling a product or service, you're basically putting out a very straightforward set of values, and people kind of take it or leave it. And, I think we all kind of have a sense, like we go to the store, we buy stuff. We all do that. But when it comes to raising money, what an entrepreneur is really doing is they're selling something called an investment product. And so the first mistake, and a lot of people who've come through the system already, like this one guy, he's got an amazing company. They're making money. They're making vegan. Well, I don't want to say, because I don't want to give away people's, I do a lot of this work is confidential, but let's just say the company was making money and he just needed a little more capital to take it next level. And he had been trying to raise capital for 3 years and he hadn't raised a penny. And I looked at his materials, and his basic problem is he was trying to sell his product to the investors. The investors are not buying his product. Let's say that his company was selling, I don't know, vegan clothing. And the stuff was cool, that's important. But what the investors want is an investment product. And the qualities of an investment product are very unfamiliar to almost everybody. And especially, unfortunately, to most entrepreneurs. They don't understand the qualities that an investment product has. And basically, an investment product is a bunch of words on a paper. It's a contract. It's nothing more than a sheet of paper I give you this sheet of paper with some words on it, and you give me money for that paper. So it's not a physical product, and it's not even really a service product. It's an investment product. So that transaction, very few people have any sensitivity for that. And I've raised millions of dollars, not quite as much in the capital side. I raised $4 million in charity in the 90s. And there is something very akin to the charity conversation and the financial fundraising conversation, because in the charity, you're asking for money to provide a service to a third party, whether it's the trees or the animals or some underserved community that can't afford whatever it is that they need. But the donor to a charity doesn't really get any transactional value. They get an esoteric value. They feel good, and they want to know that they're making a difference. And so that's why you can raise quite a lot of money, because people have a lot of money. The more money they give away, the more they feel like they made a difference. And sometimes to people who have a lot of money, I've met a lot of wealthy people who are very depressed. And it's like, come on, man, you've got a bunch of money. How can you be depressed? But it's a fact. A lot of times wealthy people, they feel hopeless because they can see the world's problems and they're too big. They can't buy their way out of those problems. Like they could, all their problems in their business, they could just spend a little money and fix it. But when it comes to, changing the world, even a billionaire, that's not enough cash to really move the needle by yourself. You've got to do something different. And that's where the organizing work I did in the 90s was so vital, because it's so powerful when people work together. So here we're using finance as a platform. But again, back to the entrepreneur, finance is a social organizing platform. I'm digressing, but that's what capitalism was all about. It was an antidote to the kings and the feudal lords who controlled the entire economy by violence. So capitalism was an evolution toward a peace-based economy. It may not look like that from here, but it really is. And it has great potential for peace. But back to the nuts and bolts, we have to use the nuts and bolts. As entrepreneurs, we just have to have a sensitivity to what it is that an investor wants when they're giving you money for that sheet of paper. And it's not the same as a donor, and it's not the same as a customer for your normal products and services. So only about 1 in 10 of the entrepreneurs that are coming through the website get what I just told you, and the rest I have to show them and teach them. But I've been doing this for a long time. I've been teaching this for a long time. So I'm optimistic that we will get some really great entrepreneurs that way. But I've seen some really lovely projects. The one project that came through that's fundable right now, they're raising money. It's a small chain of vegan restaurants in a European capital. That's all I want to say about that. And unfortunately, at the moment, their minimum investment was $100,000. And as Vegan Launch builds up the general investor membership, we'll be able to say, look, we're going to take a $100,000. They want to raise $2 million in 20 increments of $100,000. And so our general members who are not necessarily, they could be millionaires, but it's designed for people who are not necessarily millionaires, and for whom making $100,000 investment in some vegan restaurant, that's just not going to happen. But if we take that $100,000 piece and break it into 1,000 pieces or 2,000 pieces, now everyone who's out there working to build the vegan economy can also participate in the gains. And this is what really bugs me about the organic food industry, is that the whole thing grew up. You can walk down the aisles of Whole Foods. All those brands are owned by General Foods and Group Danone and other giant mega corporations who are at the minimum doing nothing for the organic food industry or the vegan movement, but at the same time, they have people lobbying against environmental things. They're using their money in a way that's exactly counter to what the movement stood for, while profiting from the movement. And that's starting to happen now in the vegan side, with companies like Tyson buying up, vegan protein companies and stuff like that. And we have a financial solution for that, but we have to grow a little bit to weed out all the old meat eater analogies, right? So people, raise your hand. Are you still there? Are we still? I see it looks like there's 3 people watching. So what would you like me to talk about next? Are you enjoying this? I'm enjoying it. I like talking. I see a thumbs up. Thank you. Ask a question. Tell me something. Again, we're just hanging out here together. I know it's kind of one-sided. Maybe we'll try a live stream. Thank you. Thank you for those thumbs up. It feels awesome. What's your favorite? Like, just ask a burning question. You know, I have a lot of life experiences. Still waiting. Oh, here we go. I see. Stacy Grossman. I have a lot of ideas about startups, but not far into proposals. Would investors want to talk with me? Yes. Yes, if you know in a way what to say. And so if you look at that entrepreneur page, you'll see the first thing you want to have is clarity of purpose. Once you have clarity of purpose, it's relatively easy to design a business around fulfilling that purpose. But you see, every company goes through stages of evolution. So the first thing is the idea. And then there's that commitment to see that idea through. And I've had the commitment to this kind of idea, what Vegan Launch is. I've been on this commitment for a long time. I'm crazy because I just saw this possibility way back in 1980, and I've been working on this one direction with a lot of variations, but all in the same basic theme. So, like, I raised $10,000. I met a guy, and we had lunch, and he just wrote me a check for $10,000. It was just the idea that later became the company I tried to build in the last decade. Save that for another story. It was the first iteration of this. I tried to raise an ecological investment fund, and he just gave me $10,000 to play with. And I didn't even have a business card then. He knew me from something else, but what I'm saying is people will give money to even a good idea. And Alvin, I see your question. I'm going to get to that in a minute, but let me finish this story. So Stacy, if you have a good idea, and we're both here in Columbus, it turns out, so we can work on that. I recommend you fill in whatever you've got on the entrepreneur form, and that's the beginning of the process and of your evolution to being this incredible vegan entrepreneur. So in my last company, I did not succeed in raising the investment fund that I wanted, but I raised money. It turns out it cost about $3 million to raise $1 billion. And I had some other ways. I got very close. I got very close to having a very large ecological investment fund. But anyway, I raised a couple $100,000 for that. And then finally, that wasn't enough. And after just struggling from the point of time I raised that till the time I threw in the towel, it was 5 years. And so I finally sent an email to all the investors, said, guys, I can't go on. I give up. And that was in 2010. And two of the investors wrote me, they said, Mark, when we gave you these checks, and we're talking $5,000 and $10,000 checks, I mean, they both put in 10,000. Both of these guys, they didn't know each other. They said, Mark, we never had any hope you would succeed. We always thought you would fail. This is one of my favorite stories. And I was so moved. Because I'm not that generous. I'm kind of an asshole. I'm generous with my time. I had no idea that there were people out there who would do that. And that's what we're talking about. That's why they call them angels, angel investors. This is pre-angel even. So you just have to get in the receiving mode. And I teach people how to receive. It's not manifesting. that's something else. You can manifest if you want, but this is just receiving. So Stacy, yes, go to that form, fill it in. And the questions on the entrepreneur form are designed specifically to evoke, I can read your whole, I can read into exactly where you are. And I know it's like my diagnosis of you. So this is not psychology. It's just success is so straightforward once you understand the basics. But because we don't know, we're often just, throwing darts in the dark. So obviously, any more questions, feel free to follow up. So Alvin Aquino from Australia. And Alvin, I think, aren't we on a call tomorrow? Any risk as an Australian investor? What are my risks as an Australian investor? Well, every investment is a risk. Risk and reward, that's what everybody is doing. So there's no unique risks for you, and there's nothing uniquely safe. Now, in some places, like in London, investors can invest $100,000 and the British government will give them back 50 to 80,000. And same in British Columbia. So that's a risk reduction strategy. So really, if you're on the list, I'm starting to talk about these things. And in our call tomorrow, we can talk about this as well. So here's what I like to say. If you're investing in the regular stock market, the regular, and I use the US as a metric, but it's pretty common around the world. The regular stock market on average, people are looking at, they hope they're going to make 5% on average a year. If you just buy an index fund like the Standard & Poor's 500 and hold it, and I just sent an email about this yesterday, you'll make a little less than 7% after inflation, whether it's 40 years or 10 years or 20 years, 7%. So the problem with that is you're putting $100 at risk for every 7 you're making a year. And you can have one bad year and those gains can kind of disappear in that way. So that's what I call, if you're putting $100 at risk to make 7, that's what I call high risk, low return. Now, what wealthy people do is the exact opposite. They invest in low risk, high return investments. Now, if you go to a normal stockbroker, they'll say, well, if you want to do better than 7%, you got to take more risk. So if they're saying if you want to make 14%, which is still a very low return, but you got to take even more risk. So still just higher risk and still low return. So what does a wealthy person do? They invest, instead of investing 100 to make 7, they invest 7 to make 100. But really what they do is they invest 7 to make 1,000 or 10,000. So how does that work? Well, I laid all that out in the email that I sent to our members yesterday. Anybody that joins our mailing list will eventually get that email because it's a part of the program now. If you're investing, let's say you're investing 5 to make 100. First of all, you want to have that filter. You say, now I'm a real investor. I'm not going to put $100 at risk to make 5 anymore. That's what the stockbrokers want you to believe, because that's how they make their money. Their business is them making their money, not making you rich. If they knew how to make you rich, they wouldn't be a stockbroker, because they'd be rich and they would quit and go to Tahiti. So when you're investing in, if you think of a seed, why do they call it seed? Because it's very evocative of nature. A seed is this very tiny thing. So seed investing, well, when a seed grows, it grows really fast. So from a seed to a seedling is like 1,000-fold increase in the biomass of that plant. And similarly, with a small company, when you invest at the seed level, if it grows, and if is the thing, but if it grows, you can get these massive returns. This is why if you invested in the Facebook IPO, you've made maybe 2 times your money. But the people who put in their money in the first rounds of Facebook, they made thousands of times of their investment. The problem is, in general, is that 90% of people in our culture can't really afford to play in the seed game as it's been played. But now financial regulations in the United States and around the world are changing. And with Vegan Launch, focus on vegan investments, we're able to break those minimums down into a smaller amount. But the percentage returns are still the same. You just, obviously, if you could invest $1 million and get 1,000-fold on that, then you've got $1 billion. So if you can only invest 100, you make 1,000-fold, you made 100,000. It's the same ratio. It's just, what you can afford to lose. So the way wealthy people are getting wealthy by early stage investing is they're taking a diversified number of small risks in companies that have a high potential for growth. And there are other factors about the entrepreneur themselves that help them succeed. And one of those factors is an ability to take a high level of responsibility for other people's money. And that does not necessarily come naturally. And there are entrepreneurs out there that usually what happens is they haven't raised the money properly, or they didn't raise enough, and then they run out. There's 1,000 mistakes an entrepreneur can make, and I know all those. That's why people I train can't make those mistakes while I'm watching, because I won't let them do that. And that's how, but getting to understand some of the basic structures, the basic structure of a company, just how to lay that foundation nicely. It doesn't cost any more to do it right. But here's what I see a lot. I've coached a lot of entrepreneurs in different fields to the same exact problem. They say, hey, I want to start a company. And their friend Bob says, yeah, I want to start a company too. And okay, let's get in together and let's be business partners. And then the company starts working, but it turns out Bob has got some problems, or he's busy, he's not doing any work, but they decided at the beginning they were going to split the revenue. So only Joe is working and Bob is taking half the money and doing nothing. And their partnership agreement, they split it 50-50, and that's a mess. And pretty soon the partnership's going to break up, and probably they're going to break up their friendship because they just didn't design the founding agreements properly. I'm not going to go and explain that because I think we're down to one person. I'm not even sure who's left. So, but that's one way that we help reduce risks. But the first thing is, you're investing a small amount that you can afford to lose. Because when you invest in the major stock market shares, the chance of losing 100% is smaller by a lot. When you invest in a seed company, the chance of losing 100% is high. But the kind of gains you can make from early stage investing almost always are just many orders of magnitude larger than what you can gain from investing at the retail level. It's just a matter of math. And there's only, if Apple is $1 trillion company today, even if they double their revenue, there's only it's going to take them a long time to double their revenue. They're not going to double very fast. And that means your investment in them can't double. Maybe it'll double over the course of 10 years. And of course, there's a lot of other factors, but I don't want to go into every single factor about stock market investing, but it's a lot easier to double your money in a startup, except for the risk factors that are associated with that kind of investing. It's a different thing. So the big companies are perhaps safer if you don't want to lose money. The smaller companies are better if you want to make a lot in a hurry, percentage-wise. All right, so we are down to one person. Whoever that is, if you want me to answer a question, now's your chance. Otherwise, we could wrap it up. So if you're here, raise your hand, ask a question. And if not, then I'm waiting. I see you there, whoever you are. Anyway, Now, who's doing that? I want to know. Thank you, but who's doing that? 16. I want to know who gave that little thumbs up. Oh, hey, Samantha. Where have you been? Is that you? Anyway. Oh, there's more. God, I'm sorry. I'm not scrolling. Sounds good. I'll give it a try. Yes, I've been there. Okay, so Stacy, you're the last one. Last question for you. Any other questions? And I have not given up on our, the discussion for the little job, but we'll talk about that soon. I've been a little busy this week. But last question. If not, let's say goodbye and we'll catch up real soon. I'm going to wait because of the lag. If there's anything else, there we go. I have to keep. There we go. Would love to meet for coffee if you're in Columbus. Yes, no worries. This thing doesn't scroll like YouTube. Sorry, my first live stream. Yeah, let's do that. Let's definitely do that. Fill in your form, and then let's talk. If you want to do that. If you don't want to do that, don't be an entrepreneur unless you want to. It can be very rewarding, but it's also very challenging. But if you're seriously thinking that you want to start a company, there's no time like the present to do it. And I was 23 when I started my first company, and am I glad I did? I wish I could go back and advise myself at that age, because it would have been an awesome company if I had just known what I was doing. And I just couldn't find a mentor like me. So this is one reason why I do this, because my whole goal is to train a whole new generation of leaders. Oh, Natasha, you're back too. I guess this thing there's more people than I get. Sorry, Stacy. Natasha, if we want to invest, where do we sign up and become a member? Well, you go to veganlaunch.com and the Get Started page, and I will copy that link. Get started. Okay, so I've just posted the link. So it looks like there's more than one person left. And you click on the Get Started page, and then you go down and you select which level investor you are. And if people want me to talk about the different levels, but we offer at the moment, we're able to offer more services to people who are millionaires and above, just because of the nature of financial law and the general minimums that are still a carryover from before the financial law changes. And so for most people raising money, not most people, for a lot of people raising money, and especially kind of in the big leagues, they just don't want to take the time to make their offers available to the public. In fact, here's a story for whoever's here. Al Gore, the great environmentalist, he has an investment fund in the United Kingdom, Climate Change Investment Fund, makes 17% a year annual return. Wouldn't we all like to invest in that? Guess what? Minimum investment is $5 million if you want to play along with Al Gore. And I called them in the 90s, excuse me, in the last decade, not the 90s, in the 2000s. It's called Generation Capital. I called them. I said, hey, I'm an environmentalist. I voted for Gore. I worked on his campaign. I like what he's doing. When are you guys going to make a public-facing piece of this thing? Why are you not letting the general public? We all work for you. We all built the environmental economy that you're profiting in. When are you going to make a public-facing side to your investment fund? They said, we're not doing that. That's wrong. That's not wrong ethically. It's wrong strategically. That the people that volunteered to educate the world about climate change under Al Gore's kind of charity umbrella, they can't invest while he's profiting from their market making. I don't like that. And whatever his reason for doing that, I think it's, the activists, this is why I'm so big on influencers and activists, because you're making the market, you deserve to get paid, you're doing the most important financial groundwork on which all these economies sit on the ideas that people are teaching. Okay, Natasha, what is the minimum to invest with my company? Well, when you become an investor member, that's a payment fee. So you're paying a membership fee, and for that fee, we're presenting you with offers. And those offers will typically have a minimum investment of $100. So we're charging you $500 so that you can get a steady stream of vegan investment offers that have been scaled down for the general public or split up into enough pieces for the general public. And the reason we charge this fee is that most of the people with these offers are not going to do this for you because it costs money. So with your membership fees, yes, Stacy's right. Without taking, okay, I won't go there. So not yet, in a minute. So let's take that restaurant. The minimum offer was $100,000. When we get to 300 members, we'll just spend, it'll be about $5,000 or $10,000 in legal fees, and we'll present that offer to the members. In fact, actually, it'll be the opposite because you don't raise money that way. First, what we'll do is we'll tell our members that we've got this opportunity, and we'll get a pre-commitment from them. And if there's enough to do a $100,000 round, then we'll just write up the documents for them and pay the lawyer the $5,000, sign it up, and they'll all have a piece of that $100,000 slice of that $2 million offer. So this is, I think it's the coolest thing. Yes, exactly. Al Gore didn't do it. Now, Al Gore and his friend had billions. It would have only cost them at most $2 or $3 million to make a public-facing access point for his fund. And I don't want to whine about Al Gore too much because I don't know what's the point, but I think people should be angry. I think that people who work hard for the environment and for the animals should be angry that the financial leaders are not providing a wealth on-ramp for them because they're creating wealth. Changing culture through what we say with our words creates wealth. Is the investment one-time or recurring? Stacy Grossman. Yes, so Stacy, right. What Al Gore is actually marginalizing and dividing the very people that worked hard and sacrificed to make the market in which he's profiting. As an activist, as a strategist, it's a bad activist strategy and a wrong strategy. It's a form, it's soft slavery, convincing people that, oh, do good because it's the right thing. And anybody at the top of the pyramid understands what I'm saying. I've known this for a long time. Okay, so Stacy, is the investment one-time recurring? The membership due is recurring. The investment is each investment in each company is a one-time investment, although you may have opportunities to invest more if they raise additional capital rounds. But this is not like a reinvestment strategy. You know, I don't know if you have investments. I certainly did when I was in my 20s. Then I spent them all eventually because I didn't like what I was invested in. My grandmother gave me $12,000 worth of stock. That's another story, but you know, Texaco and companies, it's like, wait, it's the oil company. You gave me stock in the devil. So I was looking for socially responsible investments back in the 70s. And so anyway, what I'm saying is that a lot of people have like, you know, dividend reinvestment plans. That's all at the retail market. You'll learn early stage investing by participating in the community. If you're an investor member, I've already started sending out the educational training for the investor members because these investments have been by law, we haven't been able to access them until just 2 years ago. Okay, Natasha is saying, tell us more about the investment. What is the fee and how often so we can become a member? Okay, the cost of the general investor membership is $500 a year. That is not an investment. You get a service for that $500, which is Vegan Launch does your shopping for you. And we find and put together deals and present them to you. So in the beginning, if you remember, we talked about investment products. We're out there creating and finding investment products that you would like to buy as an investor. And again, that membership fee at the base level is $500 a year. If you're a millionaire or above, it starts at $5,000 a year. And I just had a conversation today with a millionaire, and he wanted to get into deals, and he was getting boxed out of deals because he wasn't a big enough. Some of the deals are at the stage he was hearing about them, it was too late. So I followed up with him today just on an email, and I said, look, for the $5,000 a year, we'll have a dedicated staffer getting you in before Bill Gates at the seed round or the pre-seed round. But anyway, the recurring membership fee is because we're a service organization. And also, we don't charge commission on these transactions. Almost universally, everybody else in the financial field charges brokerage fees or commissions when they do a deal. We don't do that, because if we did that, then our incentive would be to only present the deals where we make the most money. And that's not my goal. My goal is to mobilize this $8 trillion of vegan and vegetarian investment funds and save the freaking planet and the animals and our health. So that's what this is about. Natasha loves it. I'm glad, Natasha, good. I'm glad you love it. We are making it easy. It's like you invest and you learn, and you'll be able to understand, because you want to be an informed shopper. That's really what this is about. The more informed you are, the safer you can invest in these high growth opportunities. And that's our goal. We want to invest like rich people. Low risk, high return. If anybody, if anyone is seeing this later, you want to be wealthy, low risk, high return. That's what wealthy people do. Sure, there's some gamblers out there, but when you really look at what most of the wealthiest people have done, they've taken very little risk relative to the gains. And now, because of these new financial laws in 2016, we're able to wind that down and make this whole thing accessible to vegans who are working so hard to create this economy. It's unbelievable how hard people are working, and for so little compensation. It's very hard to make a living as a vegan per se, but the vegan economy is coming. The vegan jobs are coming. McDonald's is going to need more and more vegan food stylists. I've heard this in London. The two biggest job listings on the job boards are cryptocurrency expert or blockchain expert and vegan chef. Vegan chef is the #2 career posting in the job boards in London. And we still got 95% of the planet, or 99% of the world population to work on. So this is going to be growing for a long, long time. How long would it take, Stacy's asking, how long would it take before the investors make a profit and the entrepreneurs? Well, first of all, the company needs to get to profitability. So that means that when selling their goods and services, they make more than they spend. And the reason they're raising capital is because there's a hole. In the entrepreneur world, they call this the valley of death, because you're spending money faster than it's coming in. And if you don't get out of that hole, you're dead. The company, you can't go on. At a certain point, you run out of cash. And that is the entrepreneur's saga. So part of what I do is help entrepreneurs plan carefully so that never happens. And I've done that with Vegan Launch. In fact, money's been coming into Vegan Launch now since December. I haven't even spent it on Vegan Launch or me, because I didn't want to go into that vow. I didn't want to, it's a discipline, you might say, at the moment. Okay, so now the other profit is you invest at the seed level. When are you going to get your money? First of all, hopefully you don't lose. Here's what's likely going to happen. Half of your investments, by the normal standards, I think we can beat those standards, but I can't promise. Investing is risky. Or like they say at the rock climbing gym, rock climbing is dangerous. But they have to say that investing in the regular stock market is also dangerous. They just put that in very fine print, but it's there. You can lose all your money no matter whether you're investing in seed stage or whether you're investing on Wall Street. But in Wall Street, it's called liquidity. Anytime you want to get out, you go to your online broker or however you do your transaction and you sell that day. You sell in 5 minutes and you're in and out. So with early stage investing, there's no liquidity. There's no market necessarily for the stock of these companies at that point. And the transactions and so what happens? The goal is the company grows, gets to profitability or gets to some kind of metric where they become appealing. And this is the normal sense, where they become appealing to either a buyout, like for example, YouTube was bought by Google for $2 billion. YouTube used to be an independent company. YouTube made zero. They had no revenue at all when Google paid $2 billion for them. And in fact, I think they'd had close to $200 million of outside capital investment, even to get to the point where they were still making $0 of income. But they understood the exit. So when Google bought YouTube, now YouTube's privately held shares converted to Google shares or cash. And so that would be one big exit. Now there are a lot of variations. Also, sometimes there's debt offerings. So these are all things that you'll learn, but pretty much it's going to be buy and hold for at least 5 years, depending on the company. And exits is a big deal. And I think an hour is a pretty good time to end this, but I already bought the domain name for something called Ethical Exit. So we're going to, solving this liquidity problem for the vegan sector is another way to give the vegan sector a leg up, an advantage compared to the rest of the world economy, and also to maintain the ethics for a longer time, because what's going on right now is ethical companies or vegan ethical companies, or at least plant-based companies, are getting bought by meat-producing companies. So that whole compass is getting lost to the wind. And it doesn't have to be that way. We just have to create, again, if we remember that same old rule, somewhere between 2 to 5 million to raise $1 billion, we can have our own buyout fund to give liquidity to these companies. And there are many examples of this in the investment world today of specific funds that have been designed to solve this kind of problem, but for other sectors. So there you have it. We covered a lot. I wonder if I can download this thing. We'll find out. Anyway, I think it's time to say goodbye. It's been an hour. Really appreciate it, all the attention everybody has given me and Vegan Launch, and I look forward to the next one. So bye-bye. Thank you very much. I'm going to, I'll shut down a minute. If anybody has any last comments, go ahead, but I'm not going to answer any more questions. I'll just watch and see who's there. Take care.